Afternoon garage. So today what I was going to do is I was going to kind of spin the motor around, you know, maybe by hand at first, and then hook up the battery and maybe get some compression measurements. It doesn't look like that's going to happen because, well, it's missing a little bit of the wiring here, and not only that, I'm having trouble getting that engine to turn around, and I really don't want to force it. So I think the thing to do is just, well, we'll just start with pulling the motor out and get it out on the stand and see how bad it is. Alright, the engine's out on this 1974 911. This is a 2.7 with, unfortunately, a magnesium case. And I've done a lot of research on these engines, and people generally don't like them because they don't have enough horsepower. And also, since this has a magnesium case, well, the head studs pull. So last time we were dealing with broken head studs. This time I don't feel we'll necessarily see a lot of that. But I do think that what I'm going to find is I'm going to find some head nuts in there that are just loose, and what that means is the studs pulled away from the case. That's going to be a bad day, but typically this has to be done on all of these engines during a rebuild. One thing I found is these things are notorious for overheating. So I noticed that you know, the lines are kind of supple in here, you know, the rubber, but as you get towards the back, you know, I was taking some of the hoses off, the rubber hoses, and well, if you put a wrench on them, they just crumble. So they're like hard plastic. These are actual rubber lines, and well, they're just disintegrating in front of my eyes. Another thing I know is that there was oil dripped all down the transmission and all kind of around the back of the motor right there, and then it kind of hardened up into kind of a paint. And actually the drips kind of hardened, and I was very curious as to what that was. Well, what that is it's oil that's been dried up on there for probably 30 years. So I don't think this thing has run for at least 20 to 30 years. So it's probably always had the problem that it has. Now, if you know anything about cars, you know that the reason cars get parked is not because they run perfectly, but it's because they had a problem at one time or another. And then they get benched and, well, passed off to many different people. And then nobody's honest with the description of what the original problem was, so then a guy like me comes along and buys the crap up. But I'm not going to get mad at that right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just pull the thing down, pull the intake off, try to get it off in one piece, so I can kind of study it and, you know, make some lines. Also try not to break them any more than they already are, so I can get the length and that kind of thing. And then tear it all down. First, what I want to do is I'm really curious to know what's going on inside those cylinders. Spark plugs are pulled. So let's stick a camera down in there and see what we get just before I tear the whole thing down. Alright, we'll stick it in number one here. Kind of always hard to get this number one cylinder. And holy cow, what is that? So it looks like some kind of, I don't know, some kind of fuzz or something like that. I don't know, maybe the spark plug hole was open. You can see there's all kinds of trash around the opening of the spark plug there. Move on to the one behind it. And that one there looks pretty normal. Alright, I got the engine pulled apart pretty far, and you know, kind of what I wanted to do first is I wanted to check those head studs, and well, let's put a wrench on there and we'll see what we get. Alright, here's a look into the cam towers here. So I did remove all the rockers because I kind of wanted to, well, show you what's going on here, and I did find a problem. So basically what you have here is you have these holes in here for the head studs, and of course there's 3 cylinders on this side and there's 4 studs, so that would be 12 studs, and they have nuts on them, and so basically I just kind of want to check for the tightness, and I kind of started with this one. You can see that one's kind of loose for number 6 here. That one's kind of loose. Of course, that one's kind of loose. As I move further down here, oh, that one was tight. That one was tight. So it looks like really we only had a problem on number 6 here, kind of loosening up. We'll check these down here. That one was kind of loose. So yeah, we have a problem on number 6 here. So, well, let's check the other side. All right, here's 1, 2, 3, and so we'll start over here at number 3. Get a wrench on this, that feels okay. Wrench on this one. That one was loose. That one was loose. It's tight. This one was loose. Now I go to tighten up this one, and well, I just can't get any engagement in the hex there. One right next to it, of course, is cylinder number 2. That was kind of loose. Okay, so I think we have a problem with the number 1 cylinder here. I'm not able to tighten it up at all. It looks like it's at the end of the limit, so you think I can either stack washers in there and tighten it up, or, well, maybe we'll have to do some inspection. Well, that test didn't go very well, did it? Well, you can see I was worried about broken head studs, and well, we just don't have that, but they were loose, and some of them I really can't even get any purchase on the hex to even tighten them up. So I guess the thing to do now is take the cams out, take the cam towers out, and in order to do that, I'm going to have to order another tool because, once again, this has another different type of fastening for the cam, different type of cam in it, I would imagine. And, well, that's going to involve another purchase of a tool in order to get this apart. So I'm kind of waiting again, and, well, when I get that, I'll take it apart and kind of see what's going on here. But, you know, after some inspection, I kind of looked at, well, one of those that was just at the end of the limit. Let's see where the stud attaches to the block, see if we can see any problems. All right, so here's that number 1 cylinder. You can see it's quite oily around here, and well, the one next to it isn't. And might tell you that, you know, this loosened up, well, it's going to blow oil out the bottom. More importantly, look what's going on right here. So this right here, you should really be able to see studs hanging out of the block like that. So that indicates that that stud has been pulled out of the block. And well, let's look at some of the others and see if they're like that. But you can see threads, and well, looks like it just yanked the material right out of the block. That's no good. Right, here's number 4 and 5. You can see that you know, these tightened up just fine. There's no oil, you know, seeping at the bottom of the bucket here, and more importantly, you don't see any threads protruding out of the block, and well, these weren't pulled, but that number 1 was. So unfortunately, we're gonna have to address that. But these look good. All right, so that wasn't good either. So you can see, well, it's completely pulled out of there, and well, wait for my tool and then pull this thing apart.
1 week later.
What a weird thing that is. looks pretty good. Alright. Ah, it doesn't look too bad either. Wow, look at all the threads that pulled out there. They're all over the block. Gonna have to split the case and put in some, well, some case savers or something. That's pretty ugly.
One hour later.
Well, it looked like I avoided the broken stud problem, but instead I have a pulled stud problem, which has pulled the threads completely out of the magnesium case. That is not a good situation, and probably about 10 times worse than a broken stud. But you know, I put the pipe wrench on it and got some of those started, so I'm going to probably have to buy all new studs for that thing. And well, I'm going to have to find some kind of an insert to put in that block as well. We'll do that next time. Hey, if you get anything out of this, give me a like and subscribe if you haven't. Lot more to come.